Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
Crash. You son
Oh, God. Hold on. Pause.
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
They were targeting Wall Street when they should have been targeting Capitol Hill.
Whatever. Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and we made it a mission to help you guys own it. Well, I don't know what was going on there. It was a weird way for it to kind of start acting up, but nevertheless, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. It's going to be another crazy day. Earnings season is still upon us, despite all the craziness that's going on in the rest of the world. So we have a lot to cover there. But before we get into anything else, guys, as you know, let's hit up the starting five. So we got Ralph Vandenhoek, Tiger's Edge, Jeff Polnicka, Jeff Chocolate, Jay Chocolate, Maroon. You guys are our starting five. Thanks so much for tuning in early. If you guys did not make the starting five and didn't even get close, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and show up early, and then you will or may get shouted out in the starting five. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Again, welcome to Stock Market Live. We got so much to cover today. We have earnings, like I said, Teledoc, Space, Virgin Galactic, Palo Alto, lots of other ones, guys. And if there's ones that you're interested in that I'm not covering today, there's a lot of them, but there are a lot of smaller numbers. But if I see a certain amount of folks requesting a particular stock, I'll certainly take a look at it, and we can cover that as well. But listen, the big story is Russia, right? We talked about it last night. We thought that there would be some selling going into the potential invasion, but the invasion itself should be bought up. And could we have seen a potential bottom here in the S&P 500 today? I think there's a case that can be made for that. You guys saw last night where I was showing you a various amount of charts where the last 5 out of 5 conflicts resulted in positive moves in the market. We sold off going into the invasion. Once the invasion happened, we saw buying going, afterwards, and in many cases, a really nice relief rally. I think there's potential that this is going on. We saw a really nice bounce after President Biden made his speech today, and there is, it's not. How do I put this? The invasion is official, according to everybody else, not named Russia or part of Russian allies. So NATO, the U.S. are claiming that Russia has invaded Ukraine, and really he did. With Putin talking about making 2 territories within Ukraine now sovereign, it's like he's just making up his own rules at this point. He's just kind of like, well, I just recognize this as not being Ukraine. And it's 2022. I can identify this space as whatever I want to identify it as, right? So that's basically what he's doing. And move troops into Ukraine. That's essentially what took place. And, because this area has a couple of buddies of his, he just thinks that he can just roll on in there and nobody will actually see that as an invasion, which is a lie. We're looking at a Russian invasion at this point. Whether or not he pushes further into Ukrainian territory remains to be seen. The U.S., along with many other nations, have imposed now their first tranche of sanctions, which prohibits any kind of financial arrangements going on to fund anything revolving the Russian military and various other areas. Let me go ahead and just kind of clarify this. So it's going to prohibit American financial institutions from processing transactions for VEB and its military bank, and this will effectively cut banks out of transactions involving U.S. dollars, which, as we all know, it's the global reserve currency, right? I mean, the dollar is seen everywhere. Even though the ruble is the primary currency in Russia, the dollar is still king no matter where you're at. So that is a huge sanction. As much as it might not sound like it, it is. It's a big deal for Russia. And I think that the further that Russia pushes themselves into Ukraine, the higher the likelihood we're going to see Russia potentially go into a depression as a result of some of the moves that we're seeing. We already heard reports from Germany talking about cutting off pipelines that would actually help Germany. So they're kind of hurting themselves as well. But they got to do what they got to do. that the pipeline is a natural gas pipeline. And so we can, what does that mean for energy? Well, we saw energy kind of take a little bit of a step back today, and which was a very interesting development because we saw oil in particular, WTI crude hits $94 a share or barrel, $94 a barrel at one point today. Now sitting at 92.27, still green on the day, but it was up over 3%. Now only up around 1 1/3. And then the rest of energy stocks in particular got hammered, but really nothing was immune to selling today other than, well, no, nothing. Sorry. Nothing was immune to selling unless you're playing some sort of inverse ETF or some crazy shit like that. But if you're looking at, gold even started to sell off. It's well off of its highs right now. Oil is off of its highs. We have the Dow that's down 545 points. S&P is down 50 points. NASDAQ's down almost 200 points. So all down significantly. But as I talked to you guys last night, I had mentioned that this is a buyable event, in my opinion, just given the way that history has shown how things work out. And we can take a look at the SPY right now, and there is potential that we have seen it. So this is, in my opinion, a potential bottoming out of the SPY as a result of the things that are going on within Russia. Now, I could be wrong, but this looks like it makes sense to me, especially if we break ourselves out to the daily chart. Let's take a look at the SPY here. We can see that this 426, 425 area was a bottom for it back in October. It was also a bottom for it back in July. It came down to it today and bounced off of it yet again. Now, we saw this huge spike when the Fed spoke back in January, down below to 420 area. And there's some arguments being made that potentially the SPY could come back down and retest those lows. I'm not sure. I'm not ready to make that call just yet, only because it bounced very sharply off of 425. Now, it's starting to roll over here going into the end of the day, and I'm sure that we'll probably see some selling accelerate going into the close. But I think that there's a potential that you can make the argument here that the bottom has come in for the SPY. Now, I'm, again, not saying that this is a guarantee, but it certainly seems like it could make some sense here. That 425 area, 426, was a resistance for the SPY back in June, rather, and has acted as a support essentially ever since. We saw this brief move down, obviously, like I was saying, back in January 24th, but the close was well above that. And so I think that as long as the close remains above that 425, 426 area, so far, so good. I think that there's a potential bounce that we could see from here. So, as the title says, did we potentially bottom in the stock market today? And I think that the answer is yes. I think there's a possibility that has happened. Possibility doesn't mean guarantee. So just make sure that you guys are being aware of that. But we've talked about this in Stockwatch Sunday last night, Stockwatch Monday, if you will, that I think that there's a lot of reason to believe that this is a buyable event, just given the way that history has played out in the past. And if we do an apples to apples comparison to something like Crimea back in 2014, the same things kind of happened. Russia moved their way in, the U.S. imposed sanctions. Russia said, okay, that's enough. We're not doing anymore. And that's it. Now, things could be a little bit different this time around, especially from a geopolitical standpoint. And I am no expert in that area. I'm just reporting the news as I see it. But as it impacts the markets, I think that we can see that history has shown that conflicts can be bullish. And so I think that there's going to be, this is potentially a buyable event today. And it looks as if maybe we saw that earlier in the day around 2 p.m. this afternoon. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Are we potentially seeing a bottom in the market? Are you guys still worried? There's a lot of worry words out there. A lot of people concerned about the market. And too much negativity, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think about everything that's been going on. We got 102 of you guys hanging out in here today. And so if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button, we got 28 likes. See if we can get that up. I imagine we're probably going to have a little bit of a slower day today. But let me know what you guys are buying too. So like if you think this is a buyable event, what are we buying? What are you buying? For me, I think that there's potential here for some really good quality companies to buy on discount. PayPal, obviously, one of them that hit 52-week lows yet again today. It's hit $101. We've talked about PayPal quite a lot, but there's also other opportunities. Apple finally actually made a pretty decent move down. Let's take a look at this. I mean, if there's an opportunity to grab some Apple, I think there's definitely an argument you can make there. Also, some of the really big FANG stocks. I mentioned Google within our watch list this morning. If you guys didn't catch that. Oops, that's not it. So Goog, well below the 200-day moving average. I talked about this potentially coming down to levels at around 2,600, 2563. And it looks as if that it may have, I haven't looked at it all today. 2568 looks like it was the low today. Let's go to the 5 minute just to make sure, just to confirm. 2564. So yeah, I mean, this is one that I think is definitely should be on the radar. Lots of reasons to like Alphabet right now. One of them being that the forward PE is now, it's probably below 22 now. 2240 is where the next year's earnings are at, the multiple. You know, obviously well below the 200-day moving average, which nobody really likes. We can see that's obviously cooling off on RSI. It's now down in the 30s. We're seeing this potentially have a really buyable moment as well. Travel demand is still going to be absolutely insane, and I'm doubling down on this. I think that travel demand and how it helps out and benefits Alphabet is going to be monstrous. Amongst everything else they have, you have YouTube, you have Google, the number one, the number two search engines in the world. And the first thing that you do when you want to go on vacation is Google where you want to go. If you have an idea of where you're going, you're going to Google all the things to do around that area. You're going to YouTube it. You're going to do all of those things. So that just means more money in Google's pocket and Alphabet's pocket. And so for me, obviously, there is some pain here that a lot of folks are dealing with. But this, to me, looks like a really cheap FANG stock that should be bought up here. That is a really good opportunity for Alphabet. Now, we do have some earnings this afternoon as well as we start to work our way into the close. But it's before I get into that, I want to see what you guys are looking to buy up. So we got Snookeroo that is looking to buy some NVIDIA. We got Mad Dix saying, my theory is I still expect NASDAQ to pull until 12,000. That's the 40 EMA on monthly chart. History says we have a pullback to the 40 EMA every time QE ends. Interesting. So we have the Qs that are down 18%. That's sitting at 337. It's actually probably down a little bit more than 18%. Yeah, somewhere around 18%, I want to say. So this is the QQQ. Obviously down quite a bit. And he's expecting the 40 EMA on the monthly chart. Let's take a look at the monthly. So here's the 50. So you're expecting it to go down even further than this. I don't know if I see that. And one of the big reasons why I don't know if I see that is because of the earnings. The earnings projections are absolutely incredible. There's a lot of stocks in the Qs in particular that are down 60, 70, and in some cases 80% or more. So, I mean, what are we expecting here? A 99% drop in a lot of these stocks to continue to go down before they start to become valuable? I don't know if I would be willing to wait that long. I think that, there's a lot of good stocks out there right now that are worth scooping up. And I think that, I don't know, I think it's a little bit too pessimistic as far as I'm concerned on that. Montegoya is in St. John trying to keep up with the market, watching Teledoc after hours. Yeah, Teledoc does have earnings. We're going to get into those. Alex, this is actually an interesting point Alex brings up. So the technical analysis shows that it could have bottomed, but it hit a major support. But there's so much negativity in the market and around the world, no one knows. And that's 100% true, right? But the thing of it is, too, is that we can't actually predict a crash just so much as we can predict a bottom. We can make assumptions and possibilities. And to be fair, when we look at sentiment and you're seeing all this negativity, it's usually a good time to just start buying shit. When you're starting to see everybody, it's just like when things are crazy high, when everybody's telling you to buy, when the market's hitting all-time high after all-time high after all-time high. I mean, the dot-com bubble, for example, if you guys were around for that, I mean, and this was before social media was even a thing. everybody and their mother was talking about investing in the stock market and this website and that website and this technology company and that one. I mean, you couldn't walk into a grocery store without hearing about it. And then what? The bubble burst, right? And it's the same thing when things are get too negative. And I think that we are too negative right now on the markets. Again, we're getting through COVID. Demand is at an all-time high. Consumer spending is absolutely phenomenal. We just heard from the Macy's CEO today talking about consumer demand and how well they did. I mean, their stock was phenomenal today, or the earnings were phenomenal today. And even Krispy Kreme, you guys heard me talk about Krispy Kreme yesterday. Demand is through the roof for food, for hospitality. So travel with restrictions coming off, the economy is actually in remarkable shape despite what everybody thinks it should be or is going to be. Inflation is a problem. Make no mistake about that. But I think that we are going to be seeing some leveling off there. And, the extreme negativity that we're seeing right now is a bit overdone. It's a bit overblown. And that's why I remain bullish in a not so bullish market, or the perception of, so to speak. But Maddox does have his buy list. Is Facebook, Google, PayPal, Salesforce, which hit 52-week lows today again as well. Adobe Square. I like that list. But I would say get rid of one of PayPal or Square. If you're going to buy one, if you're going to buy both, you're better off just buying one of them. But I like that. I like that list. Good quality companies that make money. They're not going to be as sensitive to rate hikes and that sort of thing. That's a good list. I dig that. Okay. What else we got? So this is a great point too. Ricardo Naweed says other companies rely heavily on Google search engines to get to their own business, which is why I think, Alphabet is extremely undervalued right now. And I think that there's a really good opportunity for them as well. So the market is officially closed. The S&P or the SPY closed at around 429. Let's take a look at that. I'll show you guys the chart. As soon as I find my cursor, there we go. The chart. So the SPY did end up closing above 425 right now after hours. It's working its way back up over $430. So that looks pretty darn good. So that's a great sign. Held that support at around 425. Closing at 425, above it rather. So I think that's a good sign. From the theory that we've been talking about, buying into that. Buying after the invasion essentially takes place. And according to the rest of the world and everybody not named Vladimir Putin, they did invade Ukraine. So I think there's opportunity there. If you guys ended up buying the dip today, I think you're going to do well. All right. So we have Teledoc on the docket today for earnings. Take a look here, see if there's anything developing there. Let's go to the 5-minute chart to see how they're doing. Right now, they're up about 0.5%, so nothing too crazy there. I don't see any ridiculous volume coming in. But another one that I thought was interesting and worth watching was Palo Alto. Palo Alto cybersecurity, if this Russian Ukraine crisis continues to heat up, I think that there is a lot of potential for demand on cybersecurity companies. Palo Alto is one of them. You guys know that CrowdStrike's probably my favorite stock in this space, but Palo Alto is still a very strong company as well. So they should do well. I would imagine that maybe we hear something from them in that regard to any kind of increased threat of security on the cyber side from Russia. We've seen Russia do that plenty of times. We're already hearing reports that Russia is engaging in cyber warfare on Ukraine. So I think that continues to play a significant role in their business. And so we'll continue to watch that for sure. Lastly, one of the other big ones that I'm watching, you can call it big, you cannot call it big, whatever, is Virgin Galactic. The stock's trading down. It was trading down, closed the day at $7.82. Who would have thought that they would ever see the day that Virgin Galactic was back down here after trading up to $57? Was that the high there? No, I'm sorry. $62.80 was the high on Virgin Galactic. And now we're down well below that, almost 90%, 85% from those highs. So unbelievable that to see this down here. But, it's not shocking, I guess. The stock doesn't make any money. They're far from that. So I think that there is it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for it to be trading at $60, but I'm not sure if it's worth trading down here as well. So just give you some numbers here. SPCE, the estimated earnings per share on that is at a loss of 34 cents. They're estimating around $330,000 in revenue. You got Teledoc. Their estimated earnings per share is at a loss of 56 cents. The estimated revenue there is around 546 million. And then Palo Alto as well. $1.64 is the estimated earnings per share. They're expected to bring in $1.25 billion, and 1.28 to be exact. So we'll continue to keep an eye on those. And as those earnings come in, I'll certainly be sharing those with you guys. And it looks as if maybe Virgin Galactics have come in. Let me double check this. So it looks like the stock's moving a little bit, but perhaps this is just your typical, nope, those earnings are in. So they came in, revenue looks like 140,000 in revenue. They're expected, what did I say? Expectation was 330. So they actually beat on revenue, but I think we heard from them about how Virgin Galactic actually had a more increase in orders for space travel. So that's a good thing for them. Obviously, we'll have to see how that continues to progress. I'm not quite sure that's going to get the stock rolling here, though. We'll see. But it certainly doesn't look like it's getting any kind of real reaction out of that news today. As more information comes in on Virgin Galactic, I'll certainly be sharing those with you. Let me see if we can take a look at Teledoc. This is another one, guys. Like, I think that this is one that's been beaten down so much. Ooh, this stock's up 8% after hours. All right, let me pull those up. Believe the estimated earnings per share, if I remember correctly, was a loss of 56 cents. Let me see if I can pull up the actual numbers here for you. Stock right now is trading at 8.5%. Above the close today. Pretty decent move from Teledoc. All right. Johnny R says, I always love how when the markets are up, everybody acts like they have their PhD in finance, and when it's down, they all have PhDs in economics. Yeah, for sure. And that they automatically assume that the economy and the stock market should be tied to each other, right? Like they should move together. That's also a common misconception. Okay, still just waiting on those actual numbers. The report is out. I have the revenue. I do not have earnings per share, but I'll go ahead and give you the revenue. The revenue is at 70. No, that's not right. Is that right? Let me just confirm. Sometimes the Twitter machine. So I always just go after Twitter and find reputable sources off of Twitter, only because it's so much faster than me trying to search it through like a Bloomberg or something like that. But sometimes they throw numbers in here that make 0 sense. But we saw Teledoc go up as high as 10% in after-hours earnings. Here we go. 554.2 million, and total visits increased 41% to 4.4 million. So really nice growth out of Teledoc there. What did I say the expectation was? 546, and they came in. The average estimate was 546 million in revenue. They came in at 554 in revenue. That is amazing and pretty nice growth there as well. 41% to 4.4 million. I would imagine that number is going to continue to go up. I would anticipate their outlook to be even brighter because of just the convenience of it, right? You have so many people going back into the doctor's office. The last thing that you want to do is wait in line. So why not engage in something like a telehealth, alternative, especially if it's for something that is minor, right? You got a fever, you got something else going on that's pretty minor. You don't want to waste your entire day going into the doctor's office, and you can just do it through something like a Teledoc. Makes all the sense in the world. I think a lot of people were expecting that Teledoc would fall out of favor, or the demand would wane because of everybody kind of getting back out there and restrictions being lifted. But I think the opposite's true, especially when you have a lot of people going back into the doctor's office and it's less convenient to go into the doctor's office. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Still looking to find the estimated earnings per share. Again, a loss of 56 cents was the expectation. So I'm just looking for the EPS right now. Have not found that, but it looks as if they actually crushed on revenue. And that's why the stock and on growth. And that's why the stock is continuing to move up. It's up around 3% right now. So it is pulling back after it was up as much as 10% after hours. We'll see where it goes from here. Another great point here. Another great point from SWW says, I think people became more comfortable with telehealth. Yeah, for sure. Because I think a lot of people, right, they were thinking about, well, what can a doctor do if I'm not in there? They need to see me. They need to, see what's going on with their own two eyes. And I think that there's definitely a lot more comfortability there as well. I agree 100% with that. Okay. There we go. Teledoc came in at a loss of 7 cents. As I had mentioned earlier, a loss of 56 cents was the expectation. So they crushed earnings, ladies and gents. The stock is now trading down now, though, around 3% after it bounced and popped 10% after hours. Again, it's early. We've seen this happen before, a lot of volatility. So I don't want anybody to get too discouraged, especially if you are in in Teledoc. So hang on. I think that those earnings were fantastic so far. Earnings per share was incredible. The revenue was much higher than anticipated. So make sure that you guys are paying attention to that. I don't know what the outlook yet is on Teledoc, but those numbers are really good right now so far for the company. So keep an eye out on that. The stock is actually continuing to pull back. We do have Palo Alto. So PANW is the ticker there. Stock's up around 4.33%. And it looks as if Savvy Money Show got those numbers for me. I appreciate that. The estimated earnings per share was $1.74 versus the 164 estimate. They came in at 1.32 billion versus the 1.26 billion. So incredible earnings on that. Stock is now continuing to go up. It's up 5% and climbing here after hours. Really nice beat on that. Obviously, we always know that earnings don't necessarily mean a whole lot. We need to hear from them as far as outlook's concerned. But to me, it looks like the outlook should be pretty darn good. I imagine that their guidance is probably raised here, just given the movement on the stock here after hours. What a move for this. And we've talked about this briefly here and there about cybersecurity being one to continue to own, especially given how much it's been beaten down. So I really like Palo Alto. And I like those earnings. Where can it go from here? We have a resistance here at around 500 and we'll call it 520. I have it technically at 519.79, which is actually where the 50-day moving average is. You can see this yellow line here is the 50-day moving average. So it's actually sitting right at that resistance that I have marked here. You can go all the way back to October of last year and kind of see where this was a resistance previously, acted as a support here and there, and then once it got dragged down with the rest of the market, it then became a resistance for it. So I think that I would keep an eye on Palo Alto. If this continues to run up tomorrow, I would watch that 520 area. I think that's going to be a certainly challenged spot for Palo Alto. But if it breaks up over that, watch out. I think we could see a really nice move out of the cybersecurity company. Looking at Teledoc, let's break back over to them. So they actually came in and beat earnings per share. They also beat on revenue. Now they're still trading for, they're still reporting loss, but they came in at a loss of 7 cents compared to the 56 cents estimate. This was a loss of 50 cents is what the expectation was. They came in at a loss of 7 cents. So a hell of a beat on earnings per share. Then they came in and actually reported an increase of 41% telehealth visits. So to 4.1 million. So really nice growth there, in my opinion. I think that's pretty darn good. And then also came in and beat revenue by like $10 million. So pretty decent beat for Teledoc as well. The stock isn't reacting favorably. I'm not quite sure why. There could be something as far as the outlook is concerned there. Maybe it didn't meet expectations on its guidance. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. But interesting move on Teledoc, given that they had really good earnings. This might be something that I would consider taking a look at to perhaps buy. If they came in at 3 cents, I mean, a 3 cent loss when the expectation was a loss of 56, that's pretty darn good, guys. That's pretty darn good. And considering how much this has come down, I mean, the Teledoc was trading, let's see, what were the all-time highs for Teledoc? 308 is trading at $62 right now in after hours trading. So that's, gosh, what, 65%, 70%, 70% down from its all-time high right? I'll try to do that math in my head. I think it's close to that, but still unbelievable, right? $300 is trading at 62. This is ridiculous to see it down here, especially off of a pretty decent earnings. Now, again, guidance is a lot. It makes is a major influence on price action, but man, that is crazy to see that. So looking at this, with it trading at 60, now trading at 61, it's down around 5-6%. I'm looking at this. This has the ability, the possibility to come down to maybe around $55. This comes at $55. I got to be honest with you guys. This looks like a no-brainer type of buy, an easy buy for me, in my opinion, at $55 if it comes down here. Let me just go ahead and mark that for you guys to give you a good visual where I'm seeing this at. So right here, you can see that it actually acted as support back in 2019. This is what we're talking about. 2019 levels now, guys. August of 2019 was the last time Teledoc was down in this area. And then again, it retested it as support in June of 19. Also saw it back in April of 19, act as support there. So I think that could be a really good spot if the selling continues tomorrow. Right now, it's trying to hold above that 62 area. So keep an eye on that. You know, if it decides to go the other way and we start to see, you know, the conference call goes well, there's potential for this to make the move to the upside. We could see resistance here at around 78. So plenty of room to run up into that. So keep an eye on that area, though. But those numbers seem to be pretty darn good on Teledoc. It looks as if perhaps the stock's just not being rewarded like it should. All right, we have a couple people talking about Mercado Libre. We talked about this last night in Stock Watch Sunday. Stock's up around 2%. Let's go to the 5-minute chart so you guys can kind of see what's going on right now with it. Yeah, so close the day 887, trading at 904 right now. Savvy Money Show reports that earnings per share 92 cents versus the expected. What is that? What is that? 99 cents? Now you're going to make me look. Hold on. $95 was the expected earnings per share, and it looks like they missed on earnings per share at 92 cents. $2.13 billion in revenue, 2.02. So they beat on revenue, missed on earnings per share, and then the stock is moving up slightly. I wonder if maybe this has to do with potential demand, and the reason that they maybe missed on earnings per share was because of increased costs due to COVID back in the quarter before. If you guys recall, Omicron was still wreaking havoc. So maybe that's perhaps why. We'll have to continue to take a look at that and understand why that's moving up off of an earnings miss. But again, they came in on some pretty decent revenue beats, so that stock moving up as a result. But the real head scratcher is still going to be Teledoc for me today. It's crazy. If you guys are joining for the first time, I would encourage you guys to hit the subscribe button. I go live at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time every single day of the week to go over earnings reactions and news reactions, anything. There's always something happening in the stock market. There's always news to talk about. I think that there's a lot of exciting things going on every single day in the market. So that's why I'm live every single day right before the market closed to get my reaction on what went on that day. And if there's any earnings to report on, I'll certainly be doing that as well. Guys, hit that like button if you don't mind. I certainly would appreciate it. Just continue to show support. And if you want to even show further support, also consider hitting that join button next to subscribe and becoming part of the Chaos Crew. If you guys are not a part of the Chaos Crew, for $4.99 a month by signing up with being a YouTube channel member, I put out a watch list every single day. I also have a Discord group. I do private live streams. You get access to my portfolio, all of my trade alerts. All of that happens with you being a part of the crew and showing support for the channel. So I would appreciate it if you guys are interested in that and you feel like you're a little lost, if you're just starting out, you want to learn from somebody who's been trading and doing this for a very long time. I'm coming up on 10 years experience in the financial world. It's pretty crazy just to think about how long it's been. So if you guys want to be part of the crew and help support the channel and the studio and everything you see behind you, hit that join button next to subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Yes, except Friday. Friday is a takeoff. But Sunday through Thursday, I'm here, guys. All right. About 220 of you guys hanging out. Those are the earnings so far. If you're just joining, we went over Teledoc's earnings. They came in and actually beat on earnings per share. Again, a loss of 7 cents was the actual. The expectation was a loss of 56 cents. So a really solid beat on earnings per share. The stock popped around 10% in the knee-jerk reaction to those earnings per share, and they also beat on revenue. So a really solid beat. Now I'm curious to see what the reasoning is here. So just to kind of give you some more highlights, total visits was up 40% year over year. And revenue was up. Shoot, I just lost it. Revenue was up a pretty solid amount here. Hold on. 86% year over year. $2 billion total revenue. That's pretty crazy year over year. That is wild. Full year 2022 revenue guidance of 2.55 to 2.65, representing 25% to 30% growth year over year was their expectation. I wonder if maybe that's why the stock's moving down a little bit. I would be curious what the expectation on the street was as far as that's concerned. Fourth quarter revenue grew 45% year over year to 554 million. Again, the expectation there I think was 445. I want to say. Just off the top of my head. So total visits increased 41% to 4.4 million, as we talked about earlier. Full year cash flows from operations grew 194 million. Full year revenue grew 86% year over year. And so that is just another amazing stat from them. So some pretty decent highlights from Teledoc. I got to be honest, guys, this was not something that I actually was interested in one bit. Not one bit was I interested in Teledoc. After those numbers, I don't know, man. I think that this definitely looks like a solid one to take a look at. Just given how much this has been beaten down, given those numbers that they just reported on, Shock City Rocker might be on to something. Kathy's Revenge. This is also a very heavily weighted stock that is in the ARK Innovation Fund as well, ARKK, which nobody wants any parts of right now, but this is one that's in there, and they just reported a solid quarter, really solid quarter. Where am I viewing after hour stock prices? So if you guys aren't familiar with Webull, I use the Webull charts. So right now, this is my Webull account that I'm looking at here. So you can actually see where the stock's being traded. So this darker area is when during market hours, and this lighter blue area is actually after hours trading. So you can, I have it listed up here, but you can see where the stock is moving right now on that. So depends on what brokerage you use, but you should, any brokerage should be able to give you after hours numbers as well. All right. Great stuff today, guys. Great stuff. What are we buying tomorrow? Let me know in the comments. What are you guys buying tomorrow after an absolute dropping today in the stock market? What's the first thing that you want to buy that's gotten absolutely beaten down tomorrow? Maybe you bought it today. Did anybody buy anything today? Let me know. If you guys are just tuning in, just went over pretty heavily on Teledoc. On incredible earnings quarter. Palo Alto also reported and had they missed on they beat on earnings per share. They beat on revenue. They actually crushed this quarter. Stock is now up 5.25%. Really, really nice move on that. And I had mentioned that around 520, I want to say. Is this the one where I said 520? Yes. 520 could be the potential resistance for this if the momentum continues tomorrow. So we're looking at that 5-minute chart right now, and you can see that there's definitely momentum and the possibility for this to move up there. It could be pretty likely. So keep an eye on that resistance at 520, but this stock's continuing to move up. Cybersecurity is still just growing at an unbelievable pace, guys. Unbelievable pace from Palo Alto. Which makes me feel good about something like a CrowdStrike. We take a look at CrowdStrike. Let's take a look at those, or that movement. You can see that it's actually responding as a result of Palo Alto's earnings. That's now up 1.33% after the close. But we look at something like this as well. don't know why my Webull does this sometimes. There we go. Now we're back in business. This was up as high as 298. That was the all-time high for CrowdStrike, and now it's been halved. It's down 50% from those all-time highs, just about. And so I think that there's definitely potential here for CrowdStrike to move up higher as a result of what Palo Alto reported. We still need to hear from CrowdStrike's earnings as well. Those earnings will be coming out in about the second week of March, so be on the lookout for that. But we could see a really nice run up into expecting those earnings to do really well after we're now just hearing from Palo Alto. Now, Zscaler reports later in the week, which will be on Thursday, and I'll be giving my live reactions to that as well at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys are subscribed, hit the notification bell to get notified when I do go live to give response to that. But again, another cybersecurity stock that's going to be reporting. If they have a similar outlook and quarter as Palo Alto, that just means that CrowdStrike's going to continue to get cranked up. So I think that it's important to look at all of these. But maybe look at the ones that are going to be reporting further out, because you can kind of take advantage of the impended move or the implied move up because of some of the earnings that these earlier companies are reporting. All right, you guys are really looking at buying some stuff. So T-Row, man, that's my old stomping grounds. CRM, so Salesforce and T-Row. So T-Row is T. Rowe Price. It's a financial firm actually based here in Maryland. Based here in Baltimore. It's actually like 10 blocks away from the studios, T. Rowe Price. That was my last official job, my last real job before presenting myself to you guys. Before quitting my job, that was the last job I had before coming on to YouTube and doing this full time. Was at T. Rowe Price. It was a great company. It was a great job. Just wasn't fulfilling enough. You know, not like this. This is so much fun. I love hanging out with you guys every day. Way better job. Feel like I have such purpose being on YouTube. Joe bought Neo. Interesting buy there. Neo, but stock is getting absolutely hammered. So maybe there's opportunity there for Neo. Their earnings are coming up as well, if I'm not mistaken. So earnings for Neo, actually, yeah, they're this week. Yeah. Next week. Earnings for Neo are next week. So that'll be interesting to watch. Jeff Chow bought Square, or looking to buy Square, XLE, and Halliburton. If I was going to buy so for me, Jeff, I would just stick with XLE or Halliburton. I wouldn't be buying both of them. Halliburton is the number 1 or number 2 holding in the XLE, I want to say. Oh, no. So sorry. Number 1 or number 2 holding in the OIH ETF. Halliburton is also an XLE, though. I don't know what the weighting is on that, but it's up there. Shock City Rocker was looking at Indie Semiconductor. They beat earnings after hours as well. We can take a look at that. Nibbled a little bit. Liam says nibble a little bit on Shopify. Yeah, let's take a look at Shopify real quick. That come down. New 52-week lows for Shopify at 624 after being up as high as $1,800 almost. So 1762.92 was the all-time high for Shop. And now it's just gotten absolutely beaten down. The crazy part is that the forward PE on this is still at 97 times next year's earnings. So fundamentally, this has got a long ways to go still before it actually kind of feels like it's not expensive anymore. Can it come down to 556? Was the last time that we saw decent support. This is still very much a falling knife, but I like the nibbling strategy. The fact that you just took a little bit of Shopify, I like that, rather than just trying to guess the bottom. I'm good with that. Cisco says Space Junk. Let's look at that. CSCO. Okay. It's holding above the 200-day moving average, which I really like. I like Cisco there. See a lot of people also talking about not just doing anything, which is also a decent outlook. I like the SoFi dip as well. MH, I'm going to be putting a video out on SoFi and the acquisition that they made and just how valuable SoFi is right now, just given how much this has moved down. I think that it's just been punished too much, and I think SoFi definitely deserves to be bought up, especially after the acquisition they made. Karan says he bought Etsy. I'd be careful with that. Etsy has earnings on Thursday, and we've seen some mixed reactions on earnings with a lot of the e-commerce companies, i.e. Amazon, Shopify, we just talked about. So be careful with that. But yeah, Etsy could potentially be a good one too. Mercado Libre, a lot of people say Mercado Libre is rolling. So Mercado Libre missed on earnings per share. Yeah, stocks actually continuing to move up here. Let's take one final look at that. So they missed on earnings per share, but beat on revenue. I'd imagine their outlook is probably why this is moving up. Let's take a look at the 5-minute. There's your view on what the stock is doing right now. It's now hit 972 highs in after hours trading after closing the day at 887. So it's up almost $100 a share after hours. Holy cow. What a move on that. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Again, I will be live with you all tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you haven't done so already. Let me pull up what we have on the docket as far as earnings are concerned. What are we going to be reacting to tomorrow? I think that there's some pretty decent ones as well. Okay. So we have, no, not Roku. Where'd it go? I lost it. Damn it. I lost it. Tomorrow. Oh, no, here we go. Tomorrow we got Lowe's pre-market. We got Overstock pre-market, TJ Maxx. So, I think those are going to do well. Lowe's, Home Depot came in, didn't give great guidance. And so the stock actually got pulled down, but the quarter was fantastic. Lowe's may have a little bit of a similar move, but Overstock and TJX, just given the way that Macy's reported, I'd imagine probably do really well tomorrow too. So if you didn't get into any of those, keep an eye on that. I think that's going to be exciting to watch. We also have after hours on Wednesday. Tomorrow will be Fubo, Skills, SKLZ, if you guys remember that one, a SPAC play that got absolutely crushed and hammered. Hertz back in action after going bankrupt. Clover, eBay, Lemonade, all interesting stocks to give reactions to tomorrow. So, guys, make sure that you're tuning in. And, again, hit that subscribe and notification bell if you haven't done so already. And that's going to do it for me. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.